Backup attackers are a interesting subject, and not every deck uses them, but a lot do. Welcome to Jank Play TCG. My name's Landon, and here we play Jank. And today I'm going to be talking about the subject of backup attackers, right? And you might be wondering, what is a backup attacker? Well, decks are normally built around one particular attacker. A backup attacker is an additional attacker that can be used in the deck. Some backup attackers can be found in different ways. An alternative evolution line, same type but different style of attack, different type of colorless attack, and different type of playing that energy anyway, or different type but playing that energy anyways. And to be fair, we're going to be talking a lot about Gardevoir EX, because Gardevoir EX is a deck that perfectly uses this subject, right? So, let's continue here. Alternative evolution line. So, Gardevoir has the most alternative evolution lines, I think. There's Gardevoir EX. Gardevoir with the Shining Arcana ability, which is pictured here. We've got Gallade with the Buddy Catch ability that lets you search your deck for a supporter card. And we have the Gallade that has a fighting type, so you can hit an alternative weakness. Alternative evolution lines are often easy to use because it just slides into a deck so seamlessly, and can surprise the opponent pretty often because it is an unexpected change in the way the deck plays. Except for probably in our Gardevoir list, because everyone knows about all these Gardevoirs, right? This is a popular way to play Gardevoir, so it's least surprising in Gardevoir, but other decks can use this as well. That's the beauty of Pokemon EX. If you want more on that subject, check out Pokemon EX versus Pokemon V, a video that I made before, and it talks about alternative evolution lines and that kind of stuff. But that is one type of alternative attacker, and it's a pretty easy one to use. The next one is the same type but different attack style, and I really like these types of backup attackers, right? It uses the same engine, and it uses the same energy, and often it means it can use the same energy acceleration as well, meaning, taking Gardevoir for example, Gardevoir can attach energy to Gardevoirs, but also to Zacian, because they're all the same type. It's very easy to just attach a bunch of energy. The different style of attack means it gives flexibility in how you do damage. As examples here, I have Kramer and Sableye both need cards in the Lost Zone to attack, but deal damage in very different ways. So you have that flexibility of just dealing direct damage with Cramorant, or spreading out damage counters with Sableye. Back to the Gardevoir example, and the image on screen here is Zacian V. It can be powered up to do big one-hit KOs, but Gardevoir EX only does a static 190. Zacian has this Storm Slash attack, right? And it says 3 colorless energy, but you know you're using Psychic. You're not using this attack with any other energy. And Storm Slash, this attack does 60 plus 30 more damage for each psychic energy attached to this Pokemon. So you can attach as much psychic energy as you want to power up this attack to do massive damage. And that's what I like about the different style but same type of attack, where, you know, you're powering up the Zacian to do big damage compared to Gardevoir, who's just doing static, but has its own advantage in the ability of accelerating energy and in higher HP. So, you know, it gives a lot of variety to a deck. And it takes up a small amount of space in the deck, but can also add other benefits, such as Zacian V's Roar of the Sword ability. So, not only does Zacian V have a wonderful alternative attack, it also has this ability that turn 1 going first, there's not much for you to do. So just use the Roar of Sword ability to search your deck for an energy, attach it somewhere, anywhere on the field, and end your turn. In fact, you can even use this in other turns as well, but it does end your turn when you use it, so be careful. But I really like that. Now, in my opinion, it takes a little bit more space for this than alternative evolution lines. Usually with alternative evolution lines, you're often cutting evolution anyways to fit that in, but sometimes you're not. So it's a mix-up, but these ones definitely take up more space. Next up, we have different type but colorless attack. Another one of my favorites, and Gallade really shows off how well this works with the Dynablade attack. 2 colorless energy, 60 for each of your opponent's Pokemon V in play. Pretty fantastic. So colorless energy requirements mean it can accept any type of energy, so you're not limited to what your energy is in the deck. This allows you to hit weakness for a different type than your main attacker, such as the fighting type Gallade, or Drapion V, which we will see an image of later in the slideshow, but that attack is 4 colorless energy, and as long as you can accelerate that, you can hit for darkness weakness, which is pretty good. Drapion was considered the perfect counter to Mew V Max, due to its wild style ability that lowered its attack cost for every Rapid Strike, Single Strike, or Fusion Strike Pokemon in play on your opponent's side. So often Drapion's attack could be used for free, 0 energy, against a Mew V Max or other attack style Pokemon. What are we calling those things? Let me know. Drapion still sees play in some decks that can accelerate energy to it, such as Lost Box, because Drapion's still a wonderful counter to Mew V Max and Gardevoir, that it still sees play, even if its main counter is seeing a little less play. And then Miraidon decks are another one that have a variety of attackers. You've got Miraidon EX, Raikou V, Regieleki V, Regieleki V Max. You've got a wide variety of electric Pokemon that you can use, but, you know, it doesn't often have a different type, so I should probably remove that, but it could take advantage of one of those different types, and I think that could be the future of a Miraidon deck. We'll have to see, but it might be something that I'm looking into, but it's in there for a reason, but I don't think it's a good example of what I'm talking about yet. Often difficult to use, but still powerful. So it can't always use the same energy acceleration as the rest of the deck. If we take Gardevoir EX, for example, again, the best deck for this conversation, I'm pretty sure Gardevoir EX's ability only attaches to Psychic Pokemon, so you cannot attach to Gallade. You have to attach those 2 energy to the Kirlia before you evolve up to Gallade, or the Ralts if you rare Candy. So it's often difficult, but it is very powerful as well, and hitting that fighting weakness is a great way to try to counter Arceus decks, Arceus V-Star decks, as an example, because Gallade hits weakness against those, while Gardevoir clearly does not. Next up, we're talking about different type, but playing the energy anyways. This is probably the most difficult to use, because not many decks use multiple types of energy. It is the least amount of surprise, in my opinion, because once your opponent sees that you're playing that energy, it kind of clicks in their head, oh, they're probably using this Pokemon. Radiant Charizard was probably the best example of this in recent history, because often you would see a fire energy and you know, oh, Radiant Charizard is coming. I still think they're worth it, but special energy is sometimes needed. Luminous energy, reversal energy, the rapid single fusion strike energies, these can all be attached to several different Pokemon and give you a wider variety in your type of attacker. Rapid Strike had a very clear, what am I trying to say? Like, rainbow deck. Because of the Sylveon V Max that was Rapid Strike, that encouraged you to play multiple types, but also we had the fighting type Blaziken V Max, we had the fighting type, that was fire type, fighting type Urshifu VMAX, the water type Inteleon VMAX. Rapid Strike is even seeing a rise in play nowadays due to it winning the North America International Championship. So, you know, special energy, sometimes needed, but can lead to some very explosive turns and surprising turns. A particular Pokemon need multiple types of energy. These ones are easier to include different types, but also those Pokemon are harder to play. So I'm thinking dragon types. Any dragon type out there often needs two different types of energy attached to it. So again, you can use special energy, you can use the basic energy, but also that does open up the opportunity to use another type of Pokemon. Let's see, during my live stream, I played against a Norvern EX that used Psychic and Dark, and then they also had some Dark Pokemon in there. It wrecked me, by the way. That live stream is just a hilarious 2.5 hour video of me constantly losing, using a broken deck that I still haven't gotten to work yet. But it was a lot of fun. Check it out, and I hope to do more live streams in the future. I just don't know how often I can actually do them. But if you want another example of this, you can check out the Spicy Breath deck that I played a while ago. It uses the Scovillian, where it's a grass Pokemon. Its attack is 1 grass, 2 colorless, but if it has a fire energy attached to it, it does double the amount of damage. That was a lot of fun. Of course, I played the Radiant Charizard in it, because you're playing fire energy. Why aren't you playing Radiant Charizard? It's an alternate attacker, hitting a different type, and you're using the same energy anyways. Hence, this slide having Radiant Charizard on, as the image. Why would you use a backup attacker? I think this is an important question to ask whenever you are building a deck. And the main reason to use a backup attacker, honestly, in my opinion, is meta counters. Meta counters are often needed to survive in metas, are so heavily one particular deck. If you're low on the ladder, you've probably played against enough Chimpao where you never want to see that Ice Cat again. Or is it a Weasel? I think it's a cat. I don't know. It's just very long. So you need to counter it in some way. And I don't think there is a good metal type counter currently, but there could be one in the future, hopefully soon. But Drapion V was, of course, a very popular meta counter. When Mew VMAX was super popular, Drapion V, as soon as that released, that fit basically one card in every deck. I still fit it in most decks nowadays. It also works as a counter against Gardevoir EX, as long as you can power up that 4 energy requirement, but it is seen in most decks. Raikou V, being in Lost Box, was used to counter against Lugia V-Star. Very popular deck at the time before Scarlet Violet came out and gave us Gardevoir. It's still seeing play nowadays, but I don't think it's seeing as much. But Raikou V is in Lost Box for that reason. Duraludon VMAX was partnered with Arceus V-Star because of the amount of special energy decks out there, because of the Single Strike, Fusion Strikes, Rapid Strike decks that use special energy. Duraludon VMAX became a very popular counter to those, because not many people were playing enough basic energy to be able to take care of Duraludon while they were playing those types of decks. Why would you use a backup attacker also? Different attack power. We kind of talked about this in addressing the Zacian V and Gardevoir EX decks, not Gardevoir V as it says there. I'll have to fix that. But also like Meloetta in Mew VMAX. There was a time where Meloetta was not played in Mew VMAX, and it kind of has returned because it has a different attack power. Radiant Charizard in almost any deck, thanks to Luminous Energy. If you're playing Luminous Energy, you might as well throw in 1 copy of Radiant Charizard, a basic Pokemon that will just need 1 energy. At the end of the game, when your opponent has taken 5 prize cards, or 4, I think, you can just attach a Luminous Energy and do 250 damage, which is a powerful swing, and hopefully will swing the game into your favor. But I don't want to use backup attackers, and that's okay. You don't have to. Rogue decks, many rogue decks don't, in fact. Many of the decks I use don't use backup attackers because it has to focus on one particular strategy. But also, many rogue decks don't because their main attackers are the backup attackers you often find in other decks. They counter the meta decks. That is one of the most popular ways to build a rogue deck, is look at what's popular out there and then just counter it. And taking advantage of powerful attacks are too difficult to use. Look at Scovillion, that spicy breath deck. You can do, what was it, 180 damage for 3 energy, and you can accelerate that energy so easily. And yet, it wasn't seeing play, and that's okay, because it wasn't, countering anything, but it still made a fun rogue deck I still think about, and, it did have a backup attacker, but that doesn't mean you have to, right? And sometimes backup attackers can hurt decks. There's less focus on your main attacker, and that less focus might throw off your strategy mid-game. It can be a confusing setup if you start your backup attacker and not your primary attacker, especially when it's not a different evolution line. If you are playing a basic, let's say Drapion or Radiant Charizard, it can be a confusing setup starting this Pokemon that can't actually do much for you in the current situation. And forced into a backup at the wrong time with boss's orders or your opponent just KOing unexpectedly your main attacker, and all you have on the field is your backup attacker, it can throw off your strategy. So sometimes backup attackers can hurt your decks as well. I'm not saying every deck needs them. And that's it. I think that was a comprehensive look at backup attackers, why you may want them, why you may not want them, and what they can really bring to your deck. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I recently hit 250 subscribers, which is awesome. I hope to keep growing the channel. I will be going back to school next month if everything works out. So having the channel grow so fast is great. I hope to continue with the amount of content I have been delivering. Please be patient and understanding during this life transition. My life is changing a heck of a lot in a short period of time. I left a job that I thought I was going to retire out of because of injuries I have suffered while on the job, and trying to get those injuries taken care of has proven to be more difficult and time consuming to the point where I can no longer do that job. So my current plan is to go back to school, learn some more skills. It's CAD, by the way, if anyone's interested. Jump in the Discord if you have any useful advice or comments below or whatever. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. If there are any topics you think I should cover, let me know in the comments. Whether it is a topic I already covered you think I should redo because I am not perfect, and maybe my previous conversations about mechanics and everything might have been too confusing. I've seen a few comments on my damage versus damage counters video that make me think it's a little confusing. Maybe I should redo it, but it's also like the second most popular video on my channel, so I don't know. Hopefully people still enjoy it. Maybe there's a topic you are struggling to understand and you'd like some clarification, comment it below. I will try my best to clarify it. Or something you think new or experienced players need help with. If there's a particular conversation topic, mechanic in the game that you think people are struggling with, maybe you aren't, but maybe you think it is something that people do struggle with, let me know in the comments, and I will try to address that. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future content. I am hoping my new webcam shows up soon. I ordered it like 2 weeks ago, saying it was going to be arriving last week, and I was going to be able to open some product I've been sitting on. But I finally got a notification that it shipped today as of recording, and will hopefully be delivered tomorrow which is the day that this goes out. So next week, maybe we'll have some openings, which would be fun. Maybe even Saturday. And join the Discord so we can have more one-on-ones, and maybe we can have conversations about these topics more directly, and it's a little bit easier to understand people through Discord than it is in comments, because you'll comment, I'll comment, it won't notify me that you replied. I have to go looking, and I do check occasionally, but it might be a while before I see your reply. So in the Discord, it's a lot quicker. I get a notification every single time someone posts anything in there. Can be annoying at times, but it can also lead to some great conversations, and there's some other awesome people there already. And of course, until next time, or as always, as the slide says, keep playing Jank!